Welcome back to Truck Central. Mr. Justin Wheeler here with the 2019 Ram 1500 Limited High Mileage Edition. Today we're going to do something a little more interactive, I guess you could say. We are going to kind of go over the frequently asked questions, do a little bit of a Q&A. We did answer some questions way back when, but it's been a while and we have literally thousands of comments and questions over all the videos over the last few years. So I thought it's probably worth it to take some time and run through the most commonly asked questions, answer them here. That way they're all in one place. I know not all of you have seen all 6,700 videos we've made on this journey into the high mileage territory. Before we get into that, I do want to say thank you to Real Truck. They are the sponsor this season for Truck Central. After the video, head on over to realtruck.com. Buy yourself something nice. All right, so let's start off with a doozy. And I say doozy because it's a contentious topic. You'll get mixed responses depending on who you ask. Have I serviced my transmission yet? This question has been asked, well, all the way since the 50,000 mile video, and it's asked regularly up until this point. The answer to that question is no, I have not serviced my transmission yet. I guess I just haven't felt like you need to, and I probably should know better. Ram claims that these ZF8 auto transmissions are lifetime. They have a lifetime fluid. You don't need to service them. What's odd about that the manufacturer of the transmission, ZF, they say that you should change or service the transmission between 60 and 80,000 miles, just depending on how hard you push it. I'm way past that. We are just this close to the 200,000 mile mark, and we are on the factory fluid. So I've mentioned it before, and I meant it, and I'll mention it again. I am going to service this transmission after we hit that 200,000 mile mark, and we'll see what happens. We're not going to do like a flush. We'll do a drain and fill, and I'll actually even have a sample of that transmission fluid sent off to the lab for analysis, and we'll get an objective look at how good the fluid still is, or how bad it is, I guess, is possible. Because I don't do light commuting. I do pretty significant amount of towing considering the miles I've put on already. So that's question number one. Number two, do I disable the MDS in the truck? Yes and no. There are situations where the MDS is automatically disabled, and I can also disable it when I run a custom tune. So when I'm on the factory tune, I generally have MDS enabled. That is, unless I'm towing, because when you have tow haul mode on, MDS is deactivated. Also, when I'm running a aftermarket tune via the Diablo Sport Trinity tuner, I have the MDS disabled on that. So it kind of just depends. It varies. I would say that a quarter of this truck's life, or this engine's life, it has had MDS enabled, if not more, maybe even closer to 50%. I haven't really kept track, to be honest. Sometimes I run the stock tune, sometimes I run the Diablo Sport tune. I'm towing all the time, so it's a little bit of both. I definitely don't avoid it. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off. All right, frequently asked question number 3. In regards to oil and filters, what brands and service intervals have you used? Some iteration of that question has been asked many, many times. What kind of oil do I like? And how often do I get an oil change? Listen, I rely on the truck to tell me when to get an oil change. I only do it once every 9 to 10,000 miles. That's just when it pops up that says the oil life is at 0%. You need a change. I've taken it to the same Firestone since the day I bought it for maintenance, and every single time that they've put in Pennzoil full synthetic motor oil, it's the 5W20, and every single time I have the oil changed, I have a Pennzoil, I think it's a PZ167 filter installed. So I don't change it very often. I've never replaced it with the Mopar filter. It's always been full Pennzoil, and I'm not necessarily, I'm not brand loyal, but those guys have always taken pretty good care of me, and that's what they recommend. So that's what I go with. You may or may not have seen a video we did a while back. We had the oil analysis done at the 160,000 mile mark, and the report came back beautiful. There were very, very trace amounts of any wear metals. There was all of the, the fuel in the oil, the coolant in the oil, all those were within spec where they're supposed to be. It basically had a perfect score for the age, that there's, so they do expect to see some contaminants in the oil, but based on what they said in the report, everything looked really good. And I had that done by two separate companies. That way I knew that I was kind of getting a proper analysis, and they both came back with really good scores. So I know Pennzoil is good. I know the filters are good. They've been doing a good job so far. We'll do another oil analysis on the engine oil at the 200,000 mile mark as well. Frequently asked question number 4. I'm going to lose count. I'm going to stop saying numbers. The next frequently asked question, gear ratio, the rear end, what am I using, and what's the max I've towed? I've got the 321 rear end as opposed to the 392. I didn't make that choice when I bought this truck. That was the only one they had available, and I kind of fell in love with it, and I just accepted that, knowing that I was going to be doing a lot of towing and stuff. But I wasn't too worried about it. And if you are kind of concerned, if you're looking at a vehicle and you're trying to choose between the 321s or the 392s, and I think there's even a 355 in the V6s, I can't speak to that. The 321 is fantastic. I'll be honest, I feel like it does everything I need it to do and then some. I'm sure the 392 would be better for what I do, but I'm absolutely not disappointed in the 321s. I definitely wouldn't pay at this point to change what I have. It's doing a great job. Hell, you may or may not be able to see, I'm pulling a car on a car hauler right now. Well, not right now. I've got it hooked up right now, and it pulls great. And to be honest, the fuel economy probably sucks no matter what. I mean, I still don't get but 16 miles a gallon on a normal day. So, if you're torn, don't worry about it. Get what's available. Get what fits the rest of the truck that you like. I definitely wouldn't make a decision based on the rear end. Make the decision based on the other stuff, the price, e-torque or non-e-torque, the trim package. Because I think no matter which rear end you go with, you're going to be happy with it. I know I am. As far as max tow rating or weight that I've pulled with it, I looked for the picture of the scale. I couldn't find it, but I've pulled a trailer with the load on it that was in excess of 11,000 pounds. It was like 10,900 pounds. It was close to 11,000, and I know that exceeds what this particular truck was rated for, because it, I think, is in the upper 8s, less than 9. So I was pushing it. And even with that in mind, and I don't recommend that, this truck did a really, really good job. It got really bad fuel economy, but you just have to expect that pulling something so heavy. But it did a great job. I commonly pull trailers in the 4 to 6, 7, 8,000 pound range, and it does just fine. It rides great. If you keep the weight off the tongue and you put your weight over your axles, this thing is going to pull it great. Did I have an extended warranty is another frequently asked question. The answer is yes, I did, and I used it quite a bit. I don't like to sensationalize how often I had to go to the dealer for repair work, because it does seem like I've had to go a lot. People have seen me making these videos for just the last couple years, and it seems like I've had to take it to the dealer many, many times. But what you have to keep in mind is I'm putting, 10 years of use on a truck in a 2-year, 3-year span. I'm accelerating that process. So yes, I've been to the dealer a lot, but it's no more than what a normal person would expect to go to the dealer in half a decade or more. So I did get the extended warranty. I did use it. I did an analysis on whether or not it was worth it in a previous video. What it all boils down to was it was about a wash. The warranty work I had done was comparable to the price that I paid for it. So it was worth it. It was peace of mind. It didn't really save me anything, but it is nice to have. I would definitely recommend them if you're going to buy a new truck, of course. All right, here's another one that's not really truck related, but I'll go ahead and answer it because it is asked a lot. What the hell do you do to put 50K a year on your truck? I'll keep this quick. I work in the energy industry. I'm tasked with automating big diesel pumps and motors, and I've got to drive all over the place. I could fly, but I really hate showing up to a job and not having the tool or the part or the means to fix something or install something or work on something. So I find it much more just efficient and productive to drive and have all my crap with me all the time. So I drive all over the place, and I do that just so I can have all my equipment. The RAM boxes are clutch when it comes to going out and visiting job sites and doing installs on equipment. So, uh, yeah, that's why I drive so much. Got equipment all over the country. All right, here's kind of a juicy one. How many engine hours and idle hours do I have on the truck? I don't remember, so let me look. All right, so for total hours at this moment, I have 5,748. Of that, 1,657 of those are idle hours. 1,600 idle hours, and over 4,000 of those are drive hours. It's quite a bit, and but like I said, she runs great. So that kind of segues into the next question. He says, any cam lifter issues known to happen if you idle a lot on the Hemis? Okay, so quick answer, no. No cam issues, no Hemi Tick issues. But let me take just a moment to fill people in who may not know about the Hemi Tick. The Hemi Tick is kind of misleading. There is absolutely a Hemi Tick. And then there are a lot of things that sound like the Hemi Tick. And for new truck buyers, they may hear what sounds like the Hemi Tick and it may scare them off. The real bad Hemi Tick is where the needle bearings and the lifters go bad, and it tears up your camshaft and your lifters, and you got to go in and replace all that crap, and it is really expensive. But there are other things that sound like the Hemi Tick. The primary one, and there are a couple things like the injectors are kind of noisy, and sometimes the lifters, when they're dry, at cold start, they will rattle a little bit, but it goes away pretty quick. The primary thing that people kind of might confuse with the Hemi Tick is the exhaust manifold leak. And that's another frequently asked question, but I've covered that so many times, I'm not going to include it here. People hear that exhaust manifold leak and they think that they've got the tick. And it's really unfortunate for Ram that they've got this reputation of the Hemi Tick. And one of the biggest problems with this 5.7 are the exhaust manifold cracks that are plaguing these motors. So it's kind of like, man, you've got to fix that. Have another problem, one that doesn't sound like the Hemi Tick, because it freaks people out. But no Hemi Tick, 1,600 idle hours, and she sounds as smooth as the day I got it. What do I think about the new Ram EV electric truck? Some of you guys know I've talked about the electric trucks a little bit. Short answer is I am interested in the electric truck. Long answer is there's more to that story. We're going to have a video come out soon where I discuss that in more detail. But I'm interested, but that's kind of a loaded question, not for today. All right, somebody is striking a nerve with this question. Do you think the air ride is worth the extra dollars compared to the standard Ram suspension? I've got a couple things to mention on that. We did a fuel analysis video, a comprehensive fuel analysis video with this truck, and we incorporated the suspension settings into that to kind of determine whether or not the aero mode fuel savings can displace the additional cost, the upgrade cost of the air ride suspension. I think what it boils down to is you have to drive a lot to ever recoup that investment. So I think possible, but in all reality, uh, when you say is it worth the extra dollars, you're not going to save enough money for it to be worth it. Now, I did notice improved fuel economy sometimes in the aero mode, but to me, it's really not worth it. In fact, I never drive in aero mode. I drive in normal ride height, and but it was worth the expense to me to be able to have the air ride because I do use it for things that aren't fuel savings. So yes, it is worth it. Um, but the last couple videos, you know that I am starting to have a gremlin or two pop up in the air ride. So you also have to consider potential failure and then replacement costs on whether or not it's really worth it. Can't speak to that yet. We're still trying to figure out exactly what was causing that problem. What grade gas do I use? Well, I'm glad you asked. Like I mentioned in the last question, the fuel economy video went into depth about the different octanes. I did 87, 89, 91. And obviously there are benefits to using a higher octane fuel. But I generally, when not doing experiments for the miles per gallon or the tuner stuff, I always put in 87. Always. Like almost probably 99% of the fuel I've put in this truck has been 87, and it runs great. So I know people say you have to use 89. You don't. You don't. 87 works. I've only got one frequently asked question left on the list. The $1,000,000 question: would you buy this truck again? The answer is a resounding yes, I would. Now, that doesn't mean that I think this is the best truck in the world. It just means that I have found myself personally to have gotten an exceeding amount of value out of it. Yes, it was expensive. Yes, it costs a lot to maintain. Yes, I've had some problems, but I absolutely love this truck. Don't plan on getting rid of it, probably ever, because I truly think that it's going to last a really long time. Now, it won't be able to be my primary vehicle forever. In fact, we're coming up on a time where I'm going to have to look at replacements because I have to have a low mileage vehicle for what I do. But I'll keep this in the fleet. It'll be driven, I'm sure. We'll eventually get it up to 3, 4, 500,000 miles as it kind of gets passed down in my family. My sons are about to be driving age, so we'll keep on trucking with it. I absolutely would buy one again, and a Ram is definitely a candidate for the next choice. So that pretty much covers it. That answers most, if not all, of the frequently asked questions. If you can do me a favor, head on over to realtruck.com. They've got all your floor mats, mud flaps, bug deflectors, wheels, tires, lifts, intakes, you name it, they got it. Leave me a comment down below. I look forward to talking to you. If I missed any of your frequently asked questions, sorry, there were a ton. I went through as many as I could. Let me know and I'll answer them. And as always, thanks for watching.